afternoon, everyone, and happy Thursday. Welcome to Stock Market Today. Atkore and Ed Carson here with a breakdown of the action in today's session. Strong gains across the board, Ed, and growth stocks particularly had a pretty good day.
Yeah, the leading indexes had a good day, but boy, growth and other leading stocks just was tremendous. I'm going to take a look at Salesforce, Atkore, and Denbury, all with big moves today.
Let's do it. First, let's analyze the action in the major indexes today. So here's a look at the NASDAQ finishing the day with a gain of about 1%. We had the S&P 500 up 1.2% for the day, the Dow up 1.5% for the day, and the Russell 2000 up 1.9% for the day. So the NASDAQ following up on a gain that yesterday had the index closing above the 50-day line, and the S&P joining it today.
Yeah, the NASDAQ, above its 21-day line. It's sort of breaking that downtrend, or at least coming close to it. You can sort of imagine that. And that's sort of seen with all the major indexes, regardless of where they are versus the 50-day. You look at the S&P, which, as you said, retook the 50-day line, breaking that downtrend. I'd say that one's pretty clear, actually. The Russell 2000, that's above the 50-day line. So that's a nice move, sort of clearly breaking at least that short-term downtrend. And even the Dow, which isn't above its 50, but it's coming close. It looks a lot better than it did most of the way. And so it's definitely, we're starting to see like maybe a potential character change. I mean, Wednesday was nice, but today it was like, okay. So this was strong. And then looking at growth stocks, yeah, they were just amazing. Once again, not amazing, but it's really impressive. I don't say amazing. It was really impressive. This isn't just tech stocks, but the FFTY has really come on. Yeah, there's some high flyers in there, but there's a real mix of stocks. And, Monday's loss wasn't that bad ultimately, and it came right back. So that's been impressive. When you see there's just been a slew of buying opportunities and just growth overall outperforming. So, and now with the indexes coming up, it's just such a brighter picture than Monday.
Yeah, I mean, Ed, I really hope investors have been stretching this week because it's required a lot of flexibility to be able to shift from that mindset of Monday where, and even last Friday, reducing that expectation breaker last Friday, the big gap down on Monday. And here we are almost doing a 180 at this point.
Yeah, and I think that's it. I mean, I cut some on Monday, and honestly, it's like in hindsight, as I said on IBD Live, probably would have been better to hold. Probably would have been better to hold as it turned out. But you didn't know there was a lot of stocks. If we had kept on going, we were really getting close to falling into a correction. So that sometimes happens, but you have to be nimble and say, okay, the conditions are improving, and start to boost the exposure back up again. Really nice moves today.
Yes. Okay. Well, let's take a look underneath the surface. CRM, Salesforce.com, a powerful mover today, up over 7%, volume more than double behind the move today, Ed.
Yeah. If you want to know why the S&P and Dow did so well today, well, this I'm sure was the best performer in the Dow, and this was the second best performer in the S&P 500. So really helping there. They raised guidance for 2022. They gave strong guidance for 2023, and 2022 is the year ended in January. So it's basically this year. Probably the best time to buy it was like in the morning, like waiting 5, 10, 15 minutes into the open, when it was still sort of breaking a trend line, and there was plenty of time to do that. Though you can certainly buy it near the end when it was breaking out, but there was sort of that early entry right away, and there was plenty of volume to start off the day. So you could have probably bought it at, in that situation, trying to get a better price, but really nice move for this tech giant.
Mm-hmm. And enterprise software, we've seen a lot of pockets of strength there. So ATKR also on the list of stocks to talk about today, breaking a trend line of its own. Tried to sneak above that level at the end of last week or so, but got turned away. Found support where we want to see it, right at that 50-day line, and has had an impressive last couple of sessions, especially today's gain of 6% in double volume.
Yeah, and this one has a lot of things like, the really strong volume, reclaimed its old buy point, which I don't think is really that valid anymore, but it broke a downtrend. It got above, short-term resistance levels, all sorts of nice things in there. So you can draw all sorts of reasons to buy this one. Really nice action. The RS line isn't far from highs. And, as in like it'll have a new base after tomorrow, assuming it doesn't hit a new high tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The more buy points and lines you can draw, the more likely Ed is to buy the stock, I think. But looking at the weekly chart as well, we don't have an RS line blue dot, but maybe that's because we don't have a pattern that's being identified
Probably.
here.
That's probably a good point because, yeah, on a weekly chart, that RS line is right there at the highs.
So very strong upside reversal today with the stock up about 9% so far for the week and volume behind the move. And last but not least, we've talked about the recent strength in the energy sector in Denbury, right up there with those leaders, having a great week, up about 5% for the week. That gain mostly coming from today's action. And we've talked about how this has been a little tricky because of how it's closed since hitting the short-term high of 75.20. Not the best closes in this trading range, but ultimately it's been more or less respecting that 50-day line, and today's move puts it above that 75 mark.
Yeah, and then while you can basically treat this as a handle. If you do the math, by a few pennies, the midpoint of that handle is just below the midpoint of the base. So technically it's not valid, but you can see how the stock moved, on volume today. It's clearly seems to be, a legitimate type of entry there. The RS line is moving up. Yeah, it didn't close at the very highs of the day, but finally closed high in the range. As you're saying, that was an issue. And the volume is even more impressive if you look at it on intraday chart, because it really started moving. You can sort of see that was just sort of trading tightly, with a modest gain. There was a lot of other energy stocks were moving. This one wasn't, and then finally it went. And then it moved higher, and then it sort of cleared resistance from the prior few days. You can just sort of see that on the left-hand side, and just kept on powering up. May have fell all in the last minute or so. Somebody sold shares, but that was a nice move. That's where the volume came in, because before then it was below average volume for the day, and then it turned higher, and it still ended up being a respectable day for volume, but it was definitely on the upside at the end of the day.
So when it comes to utilizing intraday charts, Ed, do you prefer the 10-minute chart, or how are you incorporating those intraday charts and various timeframes when you're making buy and sell decisions?
I usually look at the 5-minute chart, I'll be honest. And it's just this one, I just felt like you could really see that tight action and that pattern. It almost had a cup with handle base right there in that couple of days. And you could really see the volume take off. And I just sort of use it as another thing. Oh, is it showing any signs? Just a little bit. I'm not I'm not into swing trading so much, so I don't usually use it as much. But I will take a look and see, is it making a little move in there so I can gain an extra edge. But I noticed this about an hour after the extra edge, and so that there was that. But it was really nice move. Mid-afternoon and on.
Yes, it most certainly was. All right. Thank you, Ed. And now, as we head into tomorrow's session, there's been a pretty big difference between what we saw on Monday and what we saw today. So I think investors should really head to investors.com and check out today's big picture article for more information and clarity on the market's direction.
I think that's a pretty strong hint. I think that's a pretty good idea, Allie.
Okay. Well, check it out. You never know. There's a lot of nuances that we look at, a lot of technical signals and macro factors that we like to incorporate, and psychological indicators. So we hope everyone checks that out at investors.com in the market trend section. Thank you, Ed. And tomorrow morning on IBD Live, we will be joined by Charles Buy on the Pullback Harris. He will be walking us through how he's been handling the trading action this week and some potentially actionable stocks on his radar. So we hope you join us tomorrow morning on IBD Live, investors.com/IBD Live for all the details on that. We'll see you there and right back here tomorrow afternoon.